What's up, Star People? It is 11:11. Do you know where your Stellar Trilogy book 3 is? I do. I guess I'm supposed to do this thing. My makeup has melted off from earlier. So you cannot say that I'm not dedicated. I was at the Sexy Singles class of 2016 party, and I left to make sure that I got home to be able to do this, because there was no way I was going to be able to do it in the car. But it wasn't, it was just no way. It was just no way. So, hello there. Welcome. Star People Story Time. It's going down. Yes. I'm not sure if I'm tired. It was just so hot and humid. Aw, thank you. I haven't decided if I'm tired yet. You know how when you go someplace and then like the energy of everyone, you just kind of like, just energy. And then you get home and you just feel like you need to get all that energy off. That still needs to happen, but this has to go down first. So I'm just waiting for the peoples in them to join. Hi, Dwayne, welcome. Hi, Raj, welcome. So yesterday we read chapters 9 and 10, and it was a lot. It was a lot of information. It was like a college class on Kai's brain, and it was a lot of information that apparently we need. And what else happened? What else happened last night? We figured out that Kai and Jasper are still not speaking. And then you feel that way right now? Your boss is annoying? Yes. Like, today was a weird day. Can I share? Okay. So I was at this party, right? And I was a sexy single in 2007. So it was a really long time ago. And I have since, like, I'm a farmer, you know, I'm kind of vegan, just about vegan, and so I don't really go out because I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do any, you know, I don't do toxins. So I typically don't go out because, you know, toxins can also be people's energy, right? So I know a lot of people because I used to be in radio, so there are a lot of circles that, you know, because I don't go out, it's like when I do go out, it's like, oh my God, hey, you know, whatever. So I forgot, because I'm in like a bubble with my plants and my little plot, my farm and all that stuff. I forgot how shady people can be, because I am representative free. Do you get what I mean? So I don't, you know, I'm as authentic with people as I can. If I'm speaking to you and I'm saying, hi, good to see you, you look great, you know, whatever, I'm not just saying that, I really mean it. If you don't look great, I'm not going to say anything, but it's like, you know, it's all about. Anyway, I don't know what I did, but I guess I normally wear very long Lisa Bonet maxi dress clothes, but today, for whatever reason, I found this little $7 dress, so I wore it, and it was cute, and it was, you know, it was different than what I've been wearing lately, and it was very shady. I just forgot how I don't know, I was trying to figure out if I did something, if I offended people or whatever. Like, it was just very weird, and it was it's like daggers. I was like, what's different? I don't know what happened. I don't know, man, but I just thought it was funny, and it really was funny, because it's like, it was a very weird, the folks just don't know. I wasn't there to be seen. But anyway, All right, so what were we talking about? Last night, we read, I already said this, we read chapters 9 and chapter 10, and, there was a lot going on. There was a lot of brain dump stuff, it seemed like, going on with Kai, and she was trying to figure things out. And at the very tail end, at one of the chapters, it sounded like Damascus, who, you felt their envy. It sounded like Damascus, who was very prominent in book 2. It seems like he's showing up again, which is very weird because it's kind of impossible. The last time Kai and Jasper saw Damascus was in Tustai, which is in another dimension, and what the hell? And then you also, Damascus is interesting. He's very interesting, and I still haven't quite figured out who he is. In book 1, he starts out a very, very old priest in book 1. And apparently after he did whatever it is he needed to do, he passed on, but we meet him again in book 2, and he's younger, and he's a lot. There's going on. So I still haven't figured out exactly who Damascus is, but he keeps showing up. So maybe he's the Crypt Keeper. I don't know. So that happened, and then Kai wrote something that's very powerful. And so when we're getting into chapter 11 and chapter 12. And if the gang's all here, we're going to get started. Okay? Chapter 11. When the kite shrills. And you have to know a kite is an ancient bird. And it will explain it, but I'm just going to tell you so you're not sitting here going like, a kite? Like the flying kite? No, kite is an ancient Egyptian bird. Blat out. How about that? O bird of my soul, fly away now, for I possess 100 fortified towers. Rumi said that. Within a day or two, it seemed the entire world had read Shift of the People. And not only read it, we're talking about it. And not only talking about it, sharing it. She hadn't used her real name, but that choice only added mystery to the discourse being had both on her site, in the comments section, and all over the blogosphere. The blog talk morphed into entire conspiracy theory themed web shows. Those shows found their way into op-eds from other authors and major newspapers, which ultimately created discussions in the world news and talk show stages. That's right. Everyone was scrambling to understand what she meant when she titled her site, They Know Us by Our Stars. Finally, someone tracked down her email, which led to that same someone to find her cell number. Every time an unknown number came up on her phone, Kai cringed. So what if she posted the piece? It didn't mean she wanted to talk about it. She hadn't talked about it with any member of her family. Oops. Why would she start to talk about it with strangers? Her intention in posting was simply to make people aware. That's all she was trying to do. She hadn't counted on the trepidation she felt mounting every single moment later. She hadn't counted on feeling guilty, and yet she hadn't bothered to remove the post. Every time she looked in her husband's face, she felt like she was betraying him somehow. She didn't feel any remorse about it, but she did get the feeling that he got the feeling she was hiding something. He had no access to her thoughts still, and he hadn't asked why. They hadn't spoken much since that day he found her in the pyramid garden. He had been preoccupied with working at the office with Lara. Kai knew her secret wouldn't last long with the other Stai. They would find out. It was only a matter of time. It was her guilt that made her step into the light, so to speak. She had to find her center in all of this. Isolating herself from the only family she knew wasn't the answer, no matter how much she claimed not to trust them. She knew part of it was that she didn't always trust herself. The truth was, no matter her personal instincts, they were all in this together. Whatever this was. She knew at some point she would have to build a bridge. Somehow. She also knew that the very first bridge she would have to build was with herself. She hadn't meditated really since she got home, meaning that while she made herself alone most days, she hadn't once patted her feet across the hall to the third bedroom, which was designed to be the household meditation space. Jasper I had. She'd even heard Kai too open and close the door a time or two, but Kai had not. It was a nagging in her spirit that made her walk toward the third bedroom door on this day, the moment she felt the sun against her cheeks. Jasper I was lying next to her asleep, so she slid out of bed and walked across the hall with a sense of purpose. Her sense of purpose waned some the moment she was actually facing the door with her hand wrapped around the doorknob. She let her forehead rest on the closed door for more than a few moments until she found the courage enough to turn the knob and push the door open. She was greeted with the brightest golden light from the front wall of windows. Seeing the shadow of the grand window on the floor made her feel like she was walking into a crypt, even though the space was anything but cold. The room was also quite large and empty, save for a few mats rolled up against the front wall and several rows of fresh candles that made the room look like it had a Catholic prayer wall on either side of her. She instantly tired just looking at all of those candles. Who would light them all? She relaxed some when she noticed a small pile of pillows hiding in the shadows of the room in an awkward-looking cubby corner just next to the window. The only reason she noticed them is because one of the beads on the ornate pillows caught the light that was dancing around the room. It was an odd thing to notice, and she hadn't been looking for pillows to sit on, and yet exactly what she needed to find comfort in the room showed up. She pulled a small rounded pillow and a wide flat pillow out of the corner and placed the small one on top of the flat one like a zafu and zabuton. Her body felt so heavy, she didn't waste much time taking a seat and closing her eyes. For several of the longest moments, she couldn't get comfortable. She was unreasonably agitated by something, period. She couldn't settle her mind enough to see clearly. All she felt, with any amount of emphasis, was a willingness to cry. The burn of her tears pressed against her eyelids, and she finally let her face find a full scowl. She had been working with either a fake smile or a half scowl for the last several days, so letting her face drop in an honest way felt exactly like taking off her bra. When she could taste the salt of her tears and her mind stopped buzzing about, she was able to take several deep breaths and settle herself in her seat. She was still for a long while. The last of her anxiousness melted away, and she was able to sit in peace. But the peace was not long-lasting. She could hear voices in her head from a far-off place swelling toward her. Although the voices didn't sound much like voices as much as they sounded like shrill cries of birds. But they weren't exactly birds, and they weren't exactly voices. It was an eerie sound, mythic. Like something ancient was moving toward her, something she couldn't have anticipated, but somehow she remembered. They were kites. She knew they were ancient birds, but she couldn't remember how she knew their specific cry. The closer the birds' cries came toward her, the more uncomfortable she got. But she couldn't open her eyes. She was, for all intents and purposes, stuck in her seat. Unable to move, unable to call out, unable to shift. Meanwhile, her discomfort and agitation mounted. If anyone were to see her from behind, she looked like she was in deep meditation. But inside, Kai was trapped by something inside of her. She wanted to panic, but she knew panicking would only make matters worse. Something small and still inside of her told her it was okay. There was a glowing rainbow of light filtering up from her womb toward her eyes. It started to become clearer that the twin souls in her belly were talking to her in two tiny little voices, and they were both speaking to her at the same time. They sounded like a tiny echo. The light they were sending up to her eyes were translating what they wanted her to know. It took a few moments for the light to make sense in her brain and for the bird cries to soften into voices she could understand. Interestingly enough, the language they spoke was the ancient language that she vaguely remembered was of the elders. Omni lovai mami kai. Mamai kai, they said. Kai knew this meant infinite blessings, Mother Kai. From this point, the ancient words were coming at her so quickly she couldn't make out most of them. She tried to calm herself down so she could understand, but she couldn't. After a few moments, she realized the words were coming to her in a loop. They were saying the same thing over and again until she caught their meaning. Magnani, plant, moon, new, eclipse, solar, before, coming, war. When she caught all of the words and had said them aloud, the two little voices trailed off. The sound of crying birds ceased, as did her agitation, until the only thing that remained was rainbow lights. The lights stayed on her for a while, making her feel dizzy. When she finally opened her eyes, she took a minute to catch her bearings. Even when she caught them, she was visibly shaking. The words Magnani, plant, moon, new, eclipse, solar, before, coming, and war were spinning in her brain long after the rainbow lights had worn off. When she collected herself up from her zafu, awkwardly, she knew there was something she had to do. It was right there at the tip of her head. What was it? Oh, she said out loud to herself, relieved. Get Kaitu ready for school. Yes, that was it. But she didn't have to. Her exceptionally tall, lanky, and resourceful daughter was standing in the doorway, fully dressed in her school uniform. Kai startled a bit because she wasn't expecting her to be exactly where she was. Kai, too, was looking at Kai strangely. Kai didn't know what to do. Good morning, my little love. You okay? Kai asked, both awkward and breathless. She was trying to sound calmer than she felt. Why are you standing there like that? As if she didn't know. I was listening to my sister and brother talk to you, Kai said. Yeah, Kai said, shivering. That was something, wasn't it? Kai too looked at her mommy with a sad expression that made Kai want to either break out in tears or lunge at her with a hug. But she couldn't make herself move to do either. Her petrification was showing. She had no idea what to do. The words were still taking their turns with her attention like flashcards. Magnani, plant, moon, new, eclipse, solar, before, coming, war. Finally, the magnitude of what Kai believed she heard got the best of her, and she broke down in tears. It was all too much, too strange, and too soon. She was tired. Kai too stepped toward her and gave her the biggest hug she could muster. Jasperai emerged suddenly from the bedroom and wrapped his massive arms around the two of them. He didn't ask why Kai was crying right away. He instead lent his arms and his love to the equation for as long as he was needed. Chapter 11. Any questions? You know you're being set up, right? And I really want to do chapter 13 too, just so I can be like, but it's too long. Any questions? Any questions? Any questions? Any questions before we move on to chapter 12? I don't think there are any notes for this one. You know that Kai is pregnant. New people, we're too far along now for me to catch you up. You have to, on my Facebook page, new people, this is my Facebook page. I have another Facebook page. I have an author Facebook page, and it has all of the episodes of this. So you have to go back. It's all there. It's not as cluttered as this regular page. So you have to go there and catch up. We're too far along now for me to catch you up. We at chapter 12, Bobo. You know what I'm saying? By the time we get through this month, we're probably going to be more than halfway done this book. So, step to it. Okay, so I don't have really any notes for this one because it's pretty self-explanatory. Her kids, yes, we're giving her the clue of what's coming next. And so Kai, you know what she had to do to get to this point, and so she's losing her mind. And wow is exactly right, Raj. Wow is right. Okay, so so we're going to move on to chapter 12. It's called From the Mouth of Babes. Your children are not your children. They are the sons and daughters of life's longing for itself. They come through you, but not from you. And though they are with you, yet they belong not to you. Khalil Gibran said that. I love him, by the way. Let me in, Jasper said to Kai calmly. Let me help you sort this out. Magnani, plant, moon, new, eclipse, solar, before, coming, war. Magnani, plant, moon, new, eclipse, solar, before, coming, war. Magnani, plant, moon, new, eclipse, solar, before, coming, war. Kai said this over and over again and nothing else. Magnani, plant, moon, new, eclipse, solar, before, coming, war. These were the only words she could speak out loud. They had wrapped around her like a tight blanket, swaddling her in the fear she had tried so desperately to avoid. Jasperite looked taken aback. He was looking Kai in her eyes and at the same time trying to access her subtle body health. He had access to nothing of her, not even her most subtle vitals. The only thing he had access to... the only thing he had access to was the words she kept speaking, the words she needed him to help her figure out. The twins visited Mommy, Kai-Tu said somberly. They live within her. How could they visit her if they are already there? Jasper sounded exasperated, almost dismissive. Kai-Tu shrugged. They left her a message. We have to plant the tree soon, but I think there's more to it. Of course we must plant the tree soon. Please help me to understand what is happening, little one. I have no access to your mother's thoughts or her subtle bodies to make sense of anything. Kai-Tu looked at Jasper like he was being dense, but she also figured out that he wasn't thinking clearly either. He was worried for Kai. Since her mommy had filed herself away from the rest of them, Jasper looked as tired as she did. He was suffering as much as she was, even now. The words Mommy keeps repeating, Magnani, plant, moon, new, eclipse, solar, before, coming, war, that's the message I heard them tell her. She knows where the tree is to be planted, but she fears she'll have to face something that will keep her from planting it. Of course, we have been preparing for this war for eons. It is why we are here. Kai-Tu smiled gently at Jasper and then let her head her head bobbed backward and then forward. When she faced him again, everything was eerily quiet. Even Kai had stopped repeating the same words over and again. She instead curled up into a tight ball with her eyes closed. When Kai-Tu opened her mouth, she was not speaking in the voice of a 7-year-old girl. She was someone else entirely. The war you have been preparing for is not what you think it is. Kaiwan has figured this out, although she does not know that she has. Even still, she has been preparing on her own, in her own way. You must join minds and work together. The way of the Stai must be abandoned in part because the tree will not take to this world if it is merely replicating another world already in existence. You are here to serve a purpose, but not the purpose. A new world is being born of Earth, and you must let it be born as it sees fit. Magnani, plant, moon, new, eclipse, solar, before, coming, war. Said another way, plant the Magnani before the new moon solar eclipse. War is imminent, but the light is coming, she said. Jasperai was staring at Kai-Tu as though she were his very first Earth apparition. By the time he caught the courage to ask a question, her head had rolled backward and forward, and she was looking at him with her gentle 7-year-old smile again. You are a conduit, he said, humbled. Kai-Tu continued to smile. People visit me sometimes. They're nice to me, so I don't mind too much, she said. Who was that just now? Do you know? I do. She calls herself Ime. She told me she is a teller. Jasperai's face perked up some. A teller? As in an ancient being who has been living since the beginning of time? To share the stories of all the worlds from the Akashic records? She didn't say it like that. But I know she's important. She's been visiting me since I was little. She wants to help. Jasperai nodded. She has helped. Will you help me get your mother into bed? I can tell she is tired from carrying too much alone. I will help her carry her load, so she may walk lighter. I think she'll be happier if she knows she has us to help her. I think her load will be heavy no matter what. But at least she can stop pretending to be a mountain, Kai-Tu said as Jasperai lifted her mother into his arms in a quick swoop motion. He carried her stiff body into their bedroom. Kai was still holding herself in a tight ball, which made his process awkward, but he managed to get her tucked into bed. Kai-Tu kissed her mommy on her head. It's okay, Mommy. We're here. Rest for a while. Everything is okay. I know what happens next, she said. Jasperai followed Kai-Tu's lead and kissed Kai on her head. He didn't muster up any words of encouragement. He simply tapped Kai on her arms gently and quietly pulled Kai-Tu to the side. Certainly, your mother does not think she is a mountain, Jasperai said in a loud style of whisper. Not in the way you were thinking, but yes, she does. She thinks she's all alone. I don't think we've been doing a good job in helping her to know that she's not. She doesn't trust you and Aunt Lara and the rest of the Stai that came with us. She thinks you guys are hiding things from her and doing things that aren't really in line with what she's supposed to do. She thinks you're doing it because you don't trust her either. Jasperai looked genuinely hurt by Kai-Tu's words, but he also didn't defend them. There was truth to what she was saying, and there was no point in denying it. She told you as much. She didn't have to. I see things that most people can't. Why did you not say something? It wasn't my place. It still isn't. It's just that now things will start to move faster than they were. We should all be ready, and we should all work together as much as we can. You may not understand this, young one. You will, maybe, one day, but we have done nothing out of power lust. Everything we do is for the love of humanity and wanting the best we can offer the people of Earth. Your mother has shown that she may not be capable of handling the magnitude of what is being asked of her. He turned in the direction of his bed and lifted his arm as if he was showing Kai-Tu something she hadn't seen. We are at war, or soon to be. We are here to help the people of Earth withstand darkness that threatens the populace. As much as I love your mother, I can only admit in truth that she is no leader. She has no center, no core. We cannot follow someone who does not have a sense of who she is. It goes against everything we Stai believe about ourselves. Is it that she doesn't have a sense of who she is? Or who you think she should think she is? Kai-Tu said. Jasperai looked taken aback at the strength of young Kai-Tu's wisdom. He took a moment to look at her, to see more of her 7-year-old childlike face, and remember that he wasn't talking to a mere human child, or really a child at all in anything but form. Kai-Tu was exceptionally gifted in ways beyond even his own talent. He had had many conversations with the other Stai about this very thing, and they were all more than sure of their decision. They had expected far too much of Kai, and she wasn't like them. She was loose in the middle, which made trusting her judgment impractical. You'll never control her. She doesn't exist to be controlled. She's here to stand for the people of Earth, Kaiju said. Is that not what we are here for? To stand for Earth as the original mother and the Umshai did for us long ago, he said boldly. The ancient monks gave the original mother a tool, and she figured out how to use it. They didn't do it for her. I'm sure she made mistakes too, but there wasn't anybody there to see them. The original mother was 7, just like me. The only reason she did all the work was because no one else was around to do it with her. She stood in for the others, but she didn't know what she was doing for them and that it would change anything. She just followed her heart, just like my mom. You can't control somebody's heart. Jasperai was quiet for a long while. It seems I must stop calling you young one, as you may be older than I in wisdom, he said. It's okay. I don't mind. I have help. Will you take me to school, Daddy Jai? I don't think Mommy's up to it today, she said as she bounced off in the direction of the kitchen to make herself some breakfast, as though she already knew his answer. Certainly, he said out loud, but to himself. A wondrous team you and Kai-Tu make, don't you, Kairu? It seems she knows you far better than I have tried to. I shall work on it, he said, looking in the direction of their bed, where Kai was hidden under a mound of blankets. He wanted to go to her, but something in him needed to stay nearer to the door. When he finally left the room, Kai's body softened some. Before long, she was laying flat on her back, staring at the ceiling. Not long after that, her eyes closed. Basho de Inten, Yaman said. Kai couldn't see or hear him, but he was there. Yo, for real, Yaman is low-grade stalking Kai. Okay, so that's chapter 12. I told you. So, any questions? Hey, Marjoram. Hey, Bernard. Hey, Tony. Hey, everybody. So that was chapter 12. We've done chapter 11 and chapter 12. Do we have any questions, Star People? Any questions about what we read? Anything? Leaving room for the delay. Because I am daydreaming right now about my shower. Any questions about what we read? There's lots of hearts. Thank you for all the hearts. What are the hearts about? What do you think? So what do you think about what's going on with Kai right now? She had a Stai version of a nervous breakdown, apparently. I would too if my stomach started talking to me in an ancient language. Yes, that would be total breakdown. So you learned something today. You learned that a kite is an ancient Egyptian bird. Like a crow. It's like a crow. It's black. And that's important. Just remember, Kai has black wings. It would make sense for her to have some sort of black bird affiliation, wouldn't it? And blackness is powerful in this story too, by the way. It's in everything. Ain't no white yet. Any questions? No questions? Thank you, Raj. Thank you. I'm pretty proud. I'm pretty proud of her. This story. It's interesting to me, and I guess that's a good thing, right? Because if I was like, not so much. So I'm trying to think if I have any notes, but I think from this point forward, I think it's straight shooting. I think these first several chapters were really set up. They were building the foundation. I think from this point forward, it's just straight shooting. So there will be references, but this is where we can kind of, there don't need to be any notes. You can just ride. You know what I'm saying? Just take the ride. So if there aren't any questions, my loves, That's it for Star People Storytime tonight. We will be back tomorrow night at 11 p.m. and we're going to be reading chapter 13. Chapter 13 is a little longer. If I can't remember if chapter 14 is long too. I can't remember. But if chapter 14 is a little shorter, we can do 2 tomorrow too. But if not, we'll just be reading chapter 13. And that's okay, because it's going to get intense. Like, this is where the story starts to gel. Because at first, like in these first several chapters, it's really about setting up the story. It's setting up where Kai is mentally. It's setting up, her mental state, the drama with her family and the difference. Because book 3 was really like, it was love and light. It was like everything, like the beginning was wonky because she was coming out of a bad place, which is kind of a theme here. She's coming out of a bad place, a cataclysmic event, and she gets to meet her Stai family, her true family, her biological family, and then things kind of change. She gets her birthright, and she gets to see herself as who she truly is, and the rest of the story is there are some. I keep saying I have to watch that. There is some drama, there's some suspense, there's stuff going on, of course. And yet, the story is about her finding love, for the most part. It's about finding love after a really long time of thinking love wasn't going to be possible. And so now we come into this story. She's found love, and she started over, and she's a wife now, and she's about to be a new mother, but her past has not been rectified, as you can see. And so Yaman comes back into the story, and he wasn't in the story that much, if at all, like maybe 2 mentions the last book. So Yaman comes back. Damascus has already been mentioned, and Damascus wasn't prominent, but he's we'll just say he's Kai's father figure. And so he's showing up, and so you're getting the impression, I'm getting the impression, even though I have clues, I wrote it, that Kai is, she's rectifying her past. And so now we can get some momentum, because we understand on a spiritual journey that in order for you to fully be able to be present in the journey and be in the moment, you have to unpack your bullshit. And, it doesn't always look pretty. It doesn't matter where you think you are. It doesn't matter if you have everything you think you want. When you are being put in play to evolve, your shit will be tested. And that's what this looks like. It looks like breakdowns. It looks like depression. It looks like confusion. It looks like, oh my God. It looks like, what in the hell? And, this story might be more flowery, but if you really take a moment and look at your life before a cataclysmic event or after a cataclysmic event, what does that look like? It looks a lot like what Kai is going through. Like, all these things are happening, and you don't know how to process. So you retreat. And that's okay. So I'm looking forward to reading with you tomorrow, chapter 13 at least. And I also want to remind you that all throughout the month of August, we are 11:11 a.m. We do stop, drop, and meditate. So that means we sit our butts down wherever we are, and we've actually graduated to 15 minutes. Can you believe it? So we take 15 minutes during the day at 11:11 a.m. to meditate, to just be at peace, to be in the presence of the presence. And if you notice, Kai had to do the same thing, didn't she? She had to meditate. It's weird and wonky that her kids started talking to her in her stomach, but that's not going to happen for you. When you meditate, your head might be talking to you, but I don't think you might. If you're pregnant, who's to say? Let me just be quiet there. So we meditate in the morning at 11:11 a.m. and we read a chapter from a book at 11:11 p.m. You're welcome to join. Either, both. We'd love to have you. If you want to continue on with the story, my suggestion would be to catch up. We have videos. We've been doing this Facebook Live this is our 2nd week, and there are plenty of videos on the Stellar Trilogy Facebook page that you can catch up with. Okay? All right, all my announcements are now complete. I thank you so abundantly for you guys who've been so dedicated. And, you know, when I started this, I had no expectations. Like, I was totally, what inspired this was when I was in DC, I walked past a street preacher, and no, he was a white guy, and not that, I'm not sure that that's relevant, but I guess it was. He was a white guy, and he had one of those megaphone things, and he had his Bible, and he had a pack that plugged the megaphone in so he could talk. And when I tell you, Baltimore Harbor, well, so it wasn't DC, it was Baltimore Harbor, well, nobody paying attention to that man. When I tell you, people were just walking by, and he's just a talking and a preaching and whatever and have you, and it was so annoying. It was one of those things where you just looking at the man can you shut up? But he was on a mission. That's what he was there to do. And he was saying something to that effect. He was like, I am here to speak the word. And I'm paraphrasing. And I guess my attitude was, well, I'm embarrassed. You know, I don't want to show off, or whatever dumb shit we tell ourselves, and why we don't share our work. Because I am not a shameless promoter. I wrote these books and I didn't talk about them. Just like wrote them, published them, went about my life. And so Spirit and I had a conversation, and it was kind of like, I looked at that street preacher where he didn't care. He was just like, I'm here to speak the word. And I feel like if you are given a gift, and it is our job to speak the word, whatever that is. Your gift is your word. That is the word of God through you. That's a tweetable. So this is kind of like my street preacher, and I just happen to be using social media to be able to do it. I'm not a preacher. I have no interest in being a preacher, but my books, you know, they are what they are, and this is my way of getting them to you, and being on my megaphone, not really knowing if anybody's going to pay attention. And so I said all of that to say thank you for paying attention. You have no idea how much it means to me being here every night. So I'm going to get off my soapbox, and so now you have a question. As soon as I'm about to leave, y'all come up with questions. Okay, what kind the names for the characters? Well, for the first book, I want to say it was very intentional, but okay, so let me put it this way. So for the first book, the names were inspired, but I looked them up after the fact. So let's just say, for example, I would walk the world, and then I would hear something, or I would, you kind of know what it's like to get an inspiration. So the name Kai, for whatever reason, Temple of the Star Seeds. What is Temple of the Star Seeds? Star Seed. So Kai was, I looked up Kai, and I knew it meant love. Well, I found out it meant love. And so that was important. But Kai was just kind of the name I knew the character was going to be. It just so happened that I looked it up and her name meant love. So that was kind of perfect. Yamin, I don't know where that came from. I want to say I just made it up, but I just liked the name, and it just seemed like it would be the name of an elder. And let me see. Jasperi, yeah, Temple of the Star Seeds. Jasperi, okay, so Jasperi is deep because, do you know who the three kings are? Like the Jesus story, three kings, like the wise men. Jasperi is a lot. Like, he is a lot. And I won't be able to answer that question in any way that's going to get us, that's going to be less than like an hour. But Jasperi was a lot. It's a play off of Jasper, which is a mystical kind of stone. And I knew, for some reason I knew his name was Jasper, but he's not from this world, so it wouldn't just be plain Jasper. So, and the Stye, they put AI on a lot of stuff, not everything, but a lot of their words have an AI on it. That's just, we just go with it. And so that's kind of how Jasperi's name came. Lara, I think Lara was like Lara Croft, because that's kind of how I saw her. She was a Lara, Kai's aunt, Dr. Lara. She's very smart. She's very, she just seems like she would be a Lara. Darren, I don't know where that name came from, but he just seemed like he would be a Darren. But you haven't met Darren in this book. Darren is Kai's cousin, Lara's son. And Kai met him in when she worked in a casino, the last book. So, and Darren has an attitude. I don't know any Darrens that have attitudes. It just seems like Darren is deep. Cinco means 5, and at some point you're going to meet Cinco in this book. But Cinco is the very first otherworldly being that Kai met in book 1. And I don't know where that came from, but just 5-point star. Cinco, like a lot of the stuff was, when I tell you a lot of this stuff feels channeled, like I'm sitting here thinking, because that's a brilliant question. But it makes, I'm looking back at it going, well, where did I come up with that name? Where did I come up with that name? And I kind of am looking back and going, well, did I just say, well, your name is this and your name? But I did research too, like Kuai Yin, that's a play on Kuan Yin. And Kuai Yin is Kai's mother. That's her mother's name, Kuai Yin, like KWA-Yin. And that's a play on Kuan Yin, who of course was a goddess, but I think she was real. And she was the goddess of compassion, and it just fit her character because that's who she is. So a lot of the names, there are lots of really cool names. There are lots of regular names. Kai's brother's name is Carlos. Where the fuck, but his name was just Carlos. Like, that's who he looked, like a Carlos in my head. That was his name. So I guess rounding out to answer your question, all around the bend, the characters tell me what their name is. I should have just said that. Drops mic. Oh, you can tell I'm tired because I'm just rambling. Yes, you need to get the books. And I'm going to tell you, you can get signed copies on envymckee.com. I'm going to fix it. Like right now, my website is really kind of like, everything is still there. What happened was, because I do voiceovers, I made my landing page about my voiceover work. So, that's why I haven't been sending anybody to my website, because when you go there, you see my voiceover work, and you can, Obama out, bye. You can get the books on my website, but you'd have to go to, I think Stellar Trilogy. You have to go to Stellar Trilogy. Just click on it. You figure it out. You're smart people. I know you're smart. You're smart. You're here. You're listening to my work. You're smart. So you can get signed copies on my website. You can get signed copies on the Facebook page, the Stellar Trilogy Facebook page. All you have to do is click on the shop link thing. They're going to take you to the same place, which is my Square shop. And if you don't want signed copies, you can get soft covers on Amazon or Barnes & Noble. You can get digital copies on Amazon or Barnes & Noble. I would not get book 3 just yet. I would wait until the 21st because it's relaunching on the 21st. I don't even know why they're still up there. It's supposed to be taken down, but whatever. I would wait on book 3 because the new version is coming out on August 21st. So there you go. Hopefully I answered your question. Oh, right. Drop the mic. Obama out. I need something to drop the mic. my pen. See, I love these pens. All right, guys. So it's midnight. We made it. Hallelujah. You got your full 45 minutes. Look at you. Look at God. Hi, Envy. Have your characters ever talked to you after you publish a work and tell you that you got something wrong about them? Hi, Glenn. No. And the reason why I say no is because I'm not a writer that plans my work and works my plan. I'm a writer who okay, so this is how my books are written. In November, I begin writing. So in my, every November, like this last year I took off because I literally wrote and published 3 books in 3 years. And so Spirit allowed me to take a break. But the last 2 books, what happened was I started in November, and I knew throughout the year, I'll know when a book is coming because I'll get the title. And so, but I won't necessarily get anything else. I'll just get the title. And so I'll know what the title is several months before. Like, I know what the title is for book 4. So that's how I know book 4 is coming. And then what happens is I start to get pictures. I start to get, cause the way I write is like, I'm describing a scene, a picture in my head. So it's not like, I don't necessarily have characters talking in my head. I have scenes that I'm describing. It's weird, but when you're describing the scene, you see the people in the scene, and you just kind of have an intuitive sense of who these people are. So, say for example, when I met Carlos, I knew his name was Carlos because when I typed Carlos, his name was Carlos. So what's very cool about these stories is as I'm writing it, that's how that's how I know what's going to happen in the story. I don't have an outline. I don't have any foresight about it. I'm given nothing. I'm literally given for the day when my writing starts in November, I'm giving a scene, a picture in my head that I write out, and I write and I type and I type and I type and I type until I'm backed up against the wall. Literally, like it's like you look at the words and you go, you have to cuss too. Where the fuck is this going? And that's how I know I'm done for the day. And then what happens is you go, well, you can't possibly go anywhere after this. And then the next day I get the next picture that I'm to describe. So to answer your question, no, it's never a matter of me getting the characters wrong. It's a matter of, I do go back and fix stuff, but it's really technical things. Sometimes, like with this relaunch, there was too much of, I get to notice that I actually had too much of the same thing. So if it's not pulling the story along, if it's really just kind of redundant, it doesn't need to be there. So it's really technical editing things. And as I get further along in the series, I'm going to hire someone to do that, because I do everything. I have people that are sounding boards that, help along with the process. So there are other sets of eyes, but I do everything. I write it. I take a long break and then I edit, and then I take another long break and then I edit, and then I commission someone to do the covers. And, I'm in every part of the publishing process. I'm even now, I have another author that I'm working with that has a book coming out. It is a horror speculative. I publish speculative fiction. Like, I'm now a publisher where I publish people other than me, and so he's working through his book, and then I'll put his book out probably in the next year or 2. So that's a thing in the world. I hope I answered your question. Like, I don't get the characters aren't wrong. Like, it's hard to get the characters wrong when it's such an organic thing, and their words are organic. But I do get, sometimes there's too much information that needs to come out. So that's the only thing really that gets adjusted. Oh, I'm so glad, Glenn. Thank you so much for joining in. Like, this is so much fun for me. I'm having a great time. I didn't think anybody would like my stuff, really. Like, I think that's why I never really talk about it, because I'm like, this stuff is weird. Ain't nobody gonna like this. Turns out I was wrong. And thank you, all of you, for proving me wrong. So now I'm excited to continue. So I'm getting off this because I need to take a shower. I got like 200 people energy on me that I need to bathe off. Do you understand that feeling? Is there a schedule when you do these? When I do these what? These videos? Is that what you asked? These videos, yes? Okay. Yes. This entire month of August. So 11:11 p.m. is when we get together to read. It's called Star People Storytime. So that's when this happens, and all throughout the month of August. And this is going really well. So we may be able to go back and read chapter 1. I don't know what my schedule is going to be, so that's why I don't want to commit to that later. But for the whole entire month of August, we are reading chapters from book 3, and we're going to get as far to the end as we can. This is how I'm giving it away. And it's also, you guys are helping me because I want to do the audiobooks for this. So this is great practice for that reading too. So we're helping each other. Thank you. Any other questions? Going once. Going twice. So silly. All right, I'm going. I love you guys. I love you. I love you so much. Thank you so much. I will see you tomorrow, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. 11 a.m. for Stop, Drop, and Meditate, and 11 p.m. for Chapter 13. Boom. Okay? I love you madly. Lovianhal Star People.